All right. If you would please just maybe throw in the chat number one if you're seeing the 2024 digital marketing plan slide here. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. Well, let's go ahead and get firing away here. So we're going to be talking about the 2024 digital marketing plan here for plumbing and heating and air conditioning contractors. And without further ado, I'm just going to dive in here. So our plan for the session is really just to set clear goals and targets for the year, realign KPIs and tracking to achieve outcomes, map out your plan for accomplishment. And we're really going to be going over budget, channels, important trends. Really just the goal here is to set you up for massive success in 2024 and beyond. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and download this plan workbook, and I would highly suggest you do so by just going to jobcalls.com/2024-plan-workbook. And then that will take you to this workbook. It's a Google Doc. So you'll have to go ahead and make a copy if you want to edit that. Otherwise, you're just going to be able to look at it or view it. So give just a minute to do that, and then again, go ahead and just throw a chat in the one here, or one in the chat when you've had a chance to pull that up. This is really going to be a kind of a live. We're going to get in the trenches. We're going to look at what's working now and really start to map out what your goals are here for the year, and as well as put together the numbers and metrics to really ensure that you're successful here in your 2024 marketing plan. It's going to let me know when you'll be able to get that. Okay, fantastic. Looks like Ginger's got that up. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on then. So first of all, here's a little bit about me and why you should listen. So my name is Adam Loveridge. I've been the owner of Job Calls here for the last 12 years, and search engine optimization and digital marketing for realistically about probably 16 years now for businesses that I've owned, and then also for our clients. And so we've done really millions of leads for plumbing and heating contractors over the last 12 years. I'm an associate member of the UPHCA here locally. That's the Utah Plumbing and Heating Contractors Association. I've spoken at industry events across the U.S. And widely accepted as an expert in the realms of SEO and internet marketing for plumbing and HVAC businesses. We currently have two private equity firms that we work with that we're their preferred vendor for, and are managing more than 40 brands for those two different equity firms. I also personally own a remodeling business called Allied Contractors. That's here in Lehi, Utah, where I'm located, and specifically went into that because it touches so many different trades in plumbing and HVAC and framing, and really just wanted to be able to help out more contractors, and that's who I have a particular affinity for working for. And then right now I'm in the middle of an acquisition of actually a client business. It's a mom and pop shop that we're buying out mom and pop, and intend to take that one from about 3 million to at least 9 here over the next few years. So that's just a little bit about me here anyway. And we've worked with dozens of plumbing, heating and air conditioning and home service business owners. This is a client of ours, Mullen Plumbing. I was out in their neck of the woods about a month and a half ago anyway. And we'll share a little bit of success story with them here later. And our mission, as an organization, is to triple the sales of 1,000 plumbing and HVAC companies. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So number one here is really just about setting clear goals. So I'm going to ask you, what are your goals here for 2024? And I really like this quote here by Brian Tracy that says, "Success is goals, and all else is commentary." So maybe take a minute here, and if you have that workbook in front of you, you can start to really kind of look at, okay, what am I trying to do here in terms of new revenue, trucks on the road, and why that's really important. And this is kind of what I like to view businesses that really don't have a digital marketing plan in place, right? It's smooth sailing, clear waters, nothing much is really happening. And the goal of all of this, though, and the goal of having clear goals is really to put wind in your sails, and really take you from where you are now to where you want to be as a company. So again, if you haven't downloaded the worksheet, go ahead and do so now. And then let's try to start to get a snapshot then of where you are. So where are you right now in terms of average monthly revenue? And you can, if you want to put that in the chat, you're certainly welcome to, or just maybe go ahead and record that down in your workbook. And again, this is really meant to be a workshop. And so I'm just going to try to take you through an actual plan that you can take and run with. So what are the typical number of jobs that you're running per month? And if you are doing both HVAC and plumbing, or HVAC and plumbing and electrical, I would take the time now to write down, okay, this is how many we're doing in heating and air conditioning, this is how many we're running in plumbing, and this is how many we're running in electric or any other service lines that you're currently offering. And once you got that down, let's really start looking then at the other key metrics. So what is your average ticket price? And again, if you're working with different different types of service lines there, be it plumbing or heating and air conditioning, maybe write down what your average ticket is for both of those. And then the other thing that I would consider too, and if you're a heating and air conditioning company, you probably already know this, but we see an average ticket oftentimes around $450, $500 for HVAC calls. But then the real question that you want to ask yourself here is, what is that average conversion, in the field? Meaning that if I go out on, say, 10 different, no heat calls, as an example, how many of those are going to convert into a new installation, right, or a retrofit of that system? And typically what we see there is about 15%. Some of the really super aggressive heating and air conditioning contractors that we've worked with or seen in the marketplace will try to turn service calls into sales calls, sometimes 40% of the time. And there's some pros and cons to that, frankly, but certainly they're turning a lot of revenue by turning those service calls into retrofits. And then lastly, what's the number of trucks that you currently have on the road? So moving on from there then, as we look forward into 2025, and yes, I'm saying, long-term vision here at the end of 2025, so 2 years from now, where do you want your annual revenue to be? And if you have multiple service lines, then maybe set a goal here of where you'd really like to be across each one of those service lines. How many number of trucks would you like to have on the road? And then last but not least, why is all of that important? I'm going to give you a minute here to really consider that, because a lot of times what happens when I'm setting goals or we're setting goals is that you get this idea of, well, I want to make another $1 million in revenue next year, right? And we want to have another 5 trucks on the road or whatever that is. But the real gestalt behind all of that, or the real motivation that you're going to get, is really defining that why. And maybe your why is that I want to be able to employ another 3 heating and air conditioning techs and help those people support their families. Or maybe that why is because frankly, I'm trying to generate more profit for myself so that I can live the lifestyle that I want to live. So I can take that vacation to Europe that I haven't been that I've been putting off for the last 4 or 5 years. So that why is really going to be the big motivator that you can use to ultimately it's going to get you through those dark times, right? It's going to get you through those times where I just don't have the motivation, or I'm feeling lethargic, or we've had a bad quarter or a bad month, and coming back to that why, I think, is really crucially important, because that's what's going to give me the motivation to push on and to persevere. All right, next step. So inside of that workbook, there's going to be a link here to our lead generation target planner. And I'm actually going to stop here really quick and go pull that up myself so that we can look at this. And this is designed to be, pretty simple, at least in terms of the initial part of this, right? So if it's okay, if my annual revenue goal is, let's say I want to make an additional $3 million next year, then it's going to turn around and say, okay, that's, another $250,000. And then from here, I can take my average ticket value and dump that in. So we'll just go ahead and assume it's 750. And then what that means is that I've got to do about another 333 service calls per month, right? Then I'm going to expand this here a little bit so we can read it a little bit better here. And again, you'll have to make a copy of this if you want to do this on your own. But the number of leads then that we would need to get if our average conversion rate from a caller or a lead to a book job is 55% would be 606 leads per month to make an additional $3 million. And then from here, we can turn around and figure out, okay, if our average cost to generate a lead is $55, then to generate that many, our budget required to hit that target is going to be about an additional $33,000 a month. Now, if you want to take this just a step further here, you can come over to the budget allocations. And then this is really just a tool that you can use to start to look at, how okay, in terms of our total marketing mix right here, online marketing, offline marketing, repeat business, that sort of thing. Where do we want to really allocate those funds? And then it will come down here and it'll say, okay, for online marketing, we're going to put in this much per month. For offline, we're going to do this. For repeat business, we're going to do this. And we'll come back to this here throughout the webinar. But I wanted just to get you kind of started on this so that you're painting a clear idea in your mind of, first and foremost, what your goals are, and then secondarily, what it's going to take to get there in terms of a marketing budget based on your current price per lead. So let's go ahead and jump back into this now. So if you haven't downloaded that already, again, please go ahead and do so now. And this is really just a tool that we've put together for you that's going to really crystallize this plan. So what is your goal then for 2024? And how many leads are you going to need monthly to get there? And hopefully you've got that figured out here now. If you'd like to share your goal here in the chat, you're welcome to do so. Let's go ahead and move this forward here. So talking about your marketing strategy then, this is going to be from page 5 in your book. And this really comes from our, what we call our digital dominance method. But it's really just a framework of, first of all, how to first drive leads, secondarily, maximize conversions, and then lastly, optimize results. So the way that we do that is, first and foremost, the kind of the base foundation of all of this is organic SEO. And really what organic SEO is, it's a combination of a variety of things. Some might call this local SEO because we're doing this on a local level. But first of all, it's on page. And when we're talking about on page, we're talking about your website specifically, right? So the most important thing when it comes to on page is that we have to have a page for every single service that we provide in every single city that we provide it in. Okay, and then on that page, we want to have optimized titles. Okay, meaning the title of the actual document itself. So plumber near me in Lehi, Utah would be an example of that, right? H1s are our headings, and they really just tell Google what the important parts of this document are, right? How to find the best plumber. Frequently asked questions a plumber gets, right? URLs, images, etc. And then realistically, we want to have unique content for all of our pages. So gone are the days where we could just take a document, change out the keyword for, say, Salt Lake City to Midvale or Midvale to Murray, and leave everything else the same. And those types of pages just don't rank, with Google's algorithm anymore. And then GMB, and they've actually rebranded this now to GBP. So it used to be Google My Business, now it's Google Business Profile. But the important aspects here is that we're claiming and we're optimizing maps. And when we talk about optimization, first and foremost, it's our category optimization, right? So if I'm predominantly a plumber, then I first and foremost want to have plumber as my primary category. And if we also do heating and air conditioning, then I'd want to have HVAC contractor as my secondary category. And if I'm electric, if we do electric as well, then we might want to have electrician as our third category. We want to optimize the services in Google Maps. We want to optimize our images. We want to make sure that we're getting reviews and all of these different things. But the GMB side of this is really probably about 30% or so of your overall ranking plan when it comes to showing up in search. Now, we want to add to Yext or some of their citation management platform. And really what Yext is it just takes that listing information from your Google business profile and then syndicates it out exactly to Yelp and City Search and Apple Maps and a variety of other major listing sites out there. And what we call that is a citation, right? So anytime your name, address, phone number is showing up online, that's called a citation. And the more citations we have on the higher quality websites, the better we're going to show up in that local search or in those search results. We want to add that GBP information to major data aggregators as well, and then put systems in place for driving online reviews. And reviews have become just such a critical part of how you show up. And we'll see all the time where clients will stop getting reviews. They may still be ranking really, really well from all the ranking reports that we're showing and things along those lines. But when the reviews stop flowing, the calls stop flowing. And when the reviews are consistent and they're happening all the time, then calls tend to also be consistent and happening all the time. And then really what we want to be doing is we want to be going out and finding new places where we can list our business, those citations on an ongoing basis. So once we've got those kind of first two pieces in place, we want to make sure that we're doing ongoing content. So we want to push new blogs out and syndicate those via Signal Engine, so out to our social media properties, that sort of things. And then when we talk about signals, those are really what we start to call kind of more off page, right? Or these are links to our website, different things along those lines. Now, most recently, Google's in their algorithm changes over the last few months have been rolling out what we call the EEAT algorithm changes, or expertise, experience, authority, and trust. But we want to get multiple do follow links back to our website, back to that GMB listing, and as well as the internal pages on our website. We want to do multiple map embeds, so we're actually showing where our location is, different things along those lines, and we want to make sure that we're getting fresh content all the time on our website. And that's really what keeps Google and the search engines coming back for more, because Google has always said that content is king, and so we want to give Google what it wants. So this is an example of a client of ours. This is Mullen Plumbing. And you can see here that, when we type in plumber Broken Arrow, which is where they're located, they're coming up here number one. And without diving into all the reasons why they're showing up, it's really those reasons that we talked about before. When we started working with them, they had, roughly, 200 reviews over a year and a half or so. They're now up to 3,000 because we put that program in place to solicit reviews on an ongoing basis. And that's not the only thing that helps them to show up number one in their local area, but it certainly does help in terms of the overall phone calls that they're receiving. Now, this is a same client of ours. This is Mullen Plumbing out there in Broken Arrow. And this is a snapshot of all of their different online activities that they're doing. So you can see up here where we're managing this main plumbing listing, they're doing about 588 leads a month. We've got a booking rate of about 91%, and that's driving around 236,000 in revenue. So down here, this is Google Ads. That's driving 107 leads. And then when you look at the booking rates, right, it's significantly lower because that's just, pretty much true of ads. If you're not familiar with LSA or know what that acronym stands for, that's local services ads, or Google's pay-per-call system. It's a really, really great system to use if you're not. And if you are using it, then you already understand that there's also some limitations there in terms of the number of calls that you can actually receive. And then we're running a specific ads campaign on Apple Maps. And that's, booking rate at about 90%, 120 leads coming out of that. Then this is a report that I quite literally pulled yesterday on just the last 30 days of performance for this particular campaign. So Google Organic, this is where they're not actually finding us in the maps or from that Google My Business listing, and instead just finding our website because they're showing up organically. That one did 142 leads. And then these two listings down here at the bottom are two listings that we created about 4 months ago, I want to say. We decided to separate out heating and air conditioning as well as septic service. But at the end of the day, 63% of all of their lead flow is coming from organic SEO. And so, if you're not investing in SEO now, boy, that it really does make a huge, huge difference. So we talked a little bit about paid search. Paid search is another way that we can, certainly drive leads. And the big difference between organic SEO or organic search and paid search is that think of organic search like I'm buying a billboard, and paid search is like I'm renting, an ad on that billboard, right? So paid search, the second I stop paying Google to put me up at the top, then I'm no longer going to be there. But organic, I work my way up to the top, and then it's really about owning that real estate and staying there long term and getting all of those, all of that traffic from Google. So when we look at this again, our organic foundation in our belief system always has to be at the bottom of that, because it's what is going to perform the heaviest over time. And then we use a lot of paid search and local services ads, especially in the very beginning parts of an organic campaign, because it does take a while for organic SEO to really start to happen there. Pay per lead and paid directories is another way that you can layer on additional lead flow there. Obviously one of the better pay per lead systems out there is Google's LSA, but Angie's List, Home Advisor, Yelp is also, a decent one that we've had good success with. And then lastly, when we start to really look at, branding, social ads are really, really great as well for Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And then when we say Facebook, we also mean Instagram as well, because Instagram is owned by Facebook and we run ads from that same platform. Now, to be frank, we don't see a lot of specific lead generation from social ads, but the reality is that people need to see your brand 5 to 6 times before they're going to call you, right? So they may see you on a billboard, they might see a social ad, they may turn around and search in their local area and see you. And after they see you enough times, you become really top of mind in their mind. So basic marketing 101 of that, needing to see someone 5, 6 times is really a big, it still applies today, even in the internet world. And so we use social ads quite a bit to really just constantly stay out there. And then we'll talk, retargeting here as well, but on both PPC or on pay-per-click for Google, YouTube, and all of our socials, we can set up retargeting campaigns so that when somebody sees our ad and clicks on an offer or comes to our website, we're going to then follow them around the internet so that they keep seeing us. And after they see us 4, 5, 6 times, they'll pick up the phone and call. And at least that's been our experience. So let's talk a little bit about pay-per-click campaigns then specifically. And PPC has gotten kind of a bad rap because, a lot of times those campaigns just don't work. And what we've found is that more often than not, they don't work because they're not being set up correctly or because they're under budgeted. So our method is that we set up only one ad group for all services, and that's so plumbing, emergency plumbing, drain cleaning, water heaters, etc., right? Repiping, furnace repair, air conditioning maintenance. You get the general idea. We don't use specific text ads and landing pages, or the reason that they fail is if they're not using specific text ads and landing pages for those groups of keywords. So meaning that if I have a campaign that's really targeting, say, water heater repair, water heater installation, and then I'm sending them to just a general plumbing page, it's like, hey, we can do all sorts of plumbing, and it's not really targeted into that specific search query that they're looking for, then they're going to bounce off the page, because clearly you didn't listen to them when they told you what they wanted. But if I'm out there targeting water heater related keywords and I'm sending traffic to a specific page that has information about the water heaters that we offer and maybe some of the offers for water heater installation or water heater repair that we're doing, then those landing pages are going to convert infinitely better. And then lastly, we see a lot of pages that really just don't have a strong call to action or, again, an offer on that particular landing page. So this is an example of a PPC campaign that we've run. You can see here it's generated 224 leads via PPC. It was about a $9,000 investment at an average cost per lead of $40. And then over the previous month, that came down about $20. And that happens over time as we kind of optimize those campaigns. But that converted at a conversion rate of around 40%, meaning that those were 90 book jobs. And of that, the average ticket was about $750. So we take those 89 jobs at 750, that's $67,200. And when we take that and factor in our initial PPC investment of 9,000, that's about a 7.5 times return on investment. And that's fairly typical. We're seeing about 7 to maybe as high as 9x return on investment from PPC, from Google Ads. And really, it's best to have a dashboard. So if you're running PPC campaigns and you don't have a way to quickly look at, how many leads are we getting? What's our average cost per lead? And our total investment, and all of these things. It's really, really difficult to manage something that you can't measure, right? And that's just kind of a universal rule of marketing. You can't manage what you can't measure. So having a dashboard we found is really, really crucial in terms of our clients' abilities to really understand what's happening with these campaigns, because we talk about click-through rates and impressions and clicks and search, clicks percentage and top percentages, and it's all just noise for most people, right? What really matters is how many leads are we getting, how many of those leads are converting into jobs, and then what's our average cost per lead and ultimately per job. So moving on, then we've talked about how we drive leads so far via organic SEO, paid search, but our database is something that, frankly, many plumbing and heating and air conditioning contractors fail to really tap into, right? So this is an example of a campaign, just basically running a limited special for $500 off a new HVAC install. Text works fantastically, so much better than email, frankly. And here's another one that we ran for North Star Heating and Air Conditioning. They're a client of ours over here in West Jordan, Utah. They had a list of just over 5,000 customers, got about 300 replies to that text message campaign. This specifically was a fall tune-up. 119 booked jobs, 24 jobs completed, and an average revenue generated of about $4,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So not all of those turn into, sales, right? Like new system sales, but certainly generated a lot of repair calls, maintenance calls, that sort of thing as well. And that was all done over text message. And really kind of just illustrates the power of marketing to your own database and staying top of mind with your existing customers. So the next part of all of this, in terms of really getting a lot of accelerated growth, is the website specifically. So these are really the critical elements to enhance conversions. And we don't hear people talk about this too much, because it's like, just get content up there and, try to rank and try to show up and whatever else. But first and foremost, what we find is that you really need to be speaking to your target demographic, right? What are their fears? What are their frustrations? What makes you better than your competitors, or why should they choose you? And then be real, use authentic images of your team on the homepage and throughout the website. Video and multimedia elements really do engage people in a much better way. So we have found that video or websites with welcome video perform so much better, videos for each of your services, and then videos explaining why someone should contact you versus competition. And then the last thing that I would throw in here that's not actually in this list is that there's been a major shift in how Google is now looking at plumbing contractors. Actually, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I mean. So if I type in plumber near me, and I'm again over here in Lehi, Utah, right? I'm going to see my LSA results. I'm seeing the sponsored results here, 4 of them. And then the map is kind of way down here, but people still make their way down to the map. But if I type in something like water leak detection, this is a keyword that used to very much pull that map right up at the top. And if we scroll down to where all of that action is going to happen, I mean, it's down here past LSA. We've got things to know over here. How much does leak detection cost, right? How can you tell where a water leak is coming from? We're seeing water leak detectors that we can go out and buy. And the reality is that in many of the cases when it comes to plumbing, the trend has been that people are doing more DIY. And I'm not really going to get into, how we counteract that as much, because that's not really the point of this particular webinar. But suffice it to say that if I'm not getting some content out there that really starts to position me in a place where I can say, okay, listen, we're recognizing that when it comes to water leak detection or different things, consumers want to learn how to do this on their own. And so if we keep going down, we'll probably see a bunch of videos down here, right? We're seeing, a bunch of information about how people can do this on their own and different products and services they can use. And so what we started really doing with a lot of our clients then is getting ahead of that curve and saying, okay, let's start doing some how-to videos on basic things that consumers can do on their own that leads them right up to the point where it's like, okay, you can fix you can probably replace your sink, your faucet on your own, right? But you're probably not going to be able to run new water lines. And so getting a lot more into that DIY and taking people up to that point where, look, you really do need to call a plumber at this point, we have found has been absolutely essential to kind of stay ahead of the curve here on what it takes to really be effective on the plumbing side. We haven't seen HVAC go to more of this DIY based search results yet, but we're still working with our HVAC clients to start to do that as well, right? So they can do some basic troubleshooting in their own system, change your air filter, different things along those lines, right? Wash out the condensers. So anyway, along with these videos explaining why someone should contact us versus the competition, we're starting to see in a lot of cases where it's advantageous to do more DIY type content. Leveraging social proof, making sure that our online reviews are prominently on the homepage with a tool like Bird Eye or Review Buzz. And then really just getting the basics in order, right? We always want to have the phone number in the right-hand corner of the website. We want to have a web form that customers can fill out. And then we want to add credibility with our authority symbols, Better Business Bureau, Angie's List. We're a member of the Utah Plumbing and Heating Contractors Association, et cetera. And then ensuring that you have clear calls to action on each page that speak to your customer avatar and tell them exactly what to do next. Special offers and coupons that match the service they're in need of. We want to make sure that our mobile site or that our website is mobile optimized with an easy click to call function. We want to leverage live chat, start giving the clients the option to book online, and then really site speed matters. Google has what they call a 2-second rule, which basically means that if your website takes 3 or 4 seconds to load, meaning all the images load and everything else, then Google will downgrade your site and you're just going to get less traffic because people have gone to mobile devices, right? And oftentimes we're working off of our internet data plans. And so if we're trying to load big fat images and big fat videos and a whole bunch of creative stuff on the website, what that's going to mean to a mobile user is I'm not going to sit and wait for 5 or 6 seconds for your website to load. I'll just hit back. I'll choose the next guy. And so, really making sure that site speed is 2 seconds or less is just huge. And then lastly, when it comes to conversions, we want to make sure that we're engaging with people. So if someone fills out an online form, and people are more inclined to do that nowadays, right? We want to be able to engage them with SMS and phone, and do that via marketing automation. And then the other thing too that we're seeing a lot of is just having the ability to schedule, right? If somebody can hit your website and they don't have to actually call you, but they can just go schedule directly online through your Service Titan as an example, then your conversion rate is going to increase, and that's just the bottom line of it. So is your website set up to convert visitors to callers? So like I just talked about here, we want to make sure that we've got that phone number in the top right-hand button, and we're looking at a main level site for here. So if I clicked on call now on this one, it would actually show the 7 different service locations that these guys have all over Oklahoma and Arkansas. But we've got the schedule now button that goes right into that schedule engine for Service Titan. And we're putting, the face of the company out there. And that has been a really, really huge success for this particular client, because now it's not just some big, and they're a pretty good size heating and air conditioning and plumbing company. But it's not just, some big name of a company. Now there's actual people that are involved with that. And we find that that actually increases conversions a lot when we're just being real with, who we are. So executive summary KPIs. This is, again, kind of what we really are looking for here in terms of, do we have a dashboard, and do we know how many leads we're generating, what the total investment is, what our average cost per lead is, and how all of those leads are coming in. And then this is specific to website performance. So, another question is, when we're looking at our conversion rates, what's our click to call ratio over here, right? Well, we can see that this is about 32%. So, of all the people that are hitting our website, what percentage of them are clicking that phone number in the top right hand corner, or clicking that call now button up in the top right hand corner, and knowing that conversion rate percentage gives us the ability then to start A/B testing our websites and saying, well, what happens if we do a different version of that same page over here, where we move the button here, we maybe highlight this background color there. And there's quite a bit that can be done in conversion rate optimization when these numbers, and are willing to kind of test and do things to really figure out how we get that highest click to call conversion type ratio. So I'm going to skip through this one here really quick. And this is, again, another SEO summary, just a different client, but typically speaking, we're seeing an average conversion rate of about 33 to as high as 40% from that, from actual website traffic. And so, as a good rule of thumb, if you look at that and you're tracking your leads through Google Analytics or some other analytics program, you really want to make sure that you're converting at least a third of that traffic into actual phone calls. And if you're doing more like 10 or 15%, you've got a problem, and it's worth looking into. Then, again, and when we talk about conversions, another thing that's really, really important, and that we're seeing work really well is text, right? And again, we've got phone number in the top right-hand corner. We've got schedule. If I were to shrink this thing down and show you mobile, those buttons would still be right there in the header. But people would rather text message and communicate that way in so many situations. And so, if we're not taking advantage of these, little text widgets that frankly are just dumb and pop-ups, and I personally hate them, and they work. So it's not about what my personal preference is at the end of the day. As a marketer, as a basic consumer who would want to get some heating and air conditioning services done, it's really about the trends and what people are moving more toward. And having that ability to just engage in a text message conversation, we're finding is absolutely huge for conversions. Another thing, and I talked about this earlier, is just leveraging video and multimedia. This particular video on Mullen's website gets watched a lot. They do quite a bit in their local news as well. So this is just something from Channel 8 down there. But again, making sure that there's a form that people can fill in, highlighting what makes you, better than your competitors, right? Maybe we've been in business for a long time. In these guys' case, they're really kind of a hometown company. And the CEO and Ray here, the COO, are the ones who are on all of the videos on the website and out there in social media. And it's not actually them who, of course, is posting all of this and doing all the work, but there's a face to the company, and people like faces. They like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And video and multimedia is one of the best ways that you can do that. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we're showcasing social proof, right? If we're getting reviews on Google or on other, websites, then boy, let's display that stuff, right? So we'll use, different tools like this that will sit and scroll through reviews so that people can read that without having to go out to our Google business listing. Some other social proof that they're doing here is they're sponsoring the OKC Thunder, and they list that prominently on their website as well. And again, we already talked about the live chat, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this. But that reputation side of it, right? Our reviews, whatever else is really the next piece of this once we get past the website. And there are all sorts of different ways that we can get, reviews out there. Service Titan will push them out to a lot of different things. We in this particular case, because we have multiple listings and the function and service type that connects to Yext doesn't work very well in terms of trying to solicit reviews out to multiple listings. Through our CRM, we built an API into Service Titan so that it basically comes in, it looks at the business ID and says, is this an HVAC job? Is this a plumbing job? Is this a septic job? And when they used to run electric, it would say is an electric job, and then it would send them out to the appropriate listing. And when we started working with them, there were, probably 250, under 300 reviews. And when we put that in place so that every single time we closed a job, that text message went out saying, hey, we just finished a job for you. I wanted to make sure that everything went well. If not, please respond back immediately so that we can get you taken care of. Otherwise, would you please leave us a review? And it just takes them right to that space on Google where they can leave a review. And if you just ask for reviews, you will get them. People have got way more accustomed to doing that. And this is a much better strategy than just letting bad news travel fast. We want to solicit the good news from our customers all the time. So, and this is just a screenshot of some of the stuff that they've done here. But over about a year, we were able to add about 3 million in annual revenue by doing all of those tactics, getting the conversions set up correctly, optimizing the GBP, getting good quality content on there, sending links, but most importantly, and getting into a place where we're soliciting a lot of reviews. And like I said, when we solicit reviews, the phone calls just keep happening. And then lastly, automation is a way that we can maximize conversions. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can generate leads, right? But the problem is that 50 to 60% of our inbound leads are left unconverted. Okay, so usually if we pick up the phone, or if a client, a customer picks up the phone and calls us, we're going to convert those at a pretty high clip. But if they do a web form or they do that text widget, or they reach out on social media, they sit there because we're not monitoring that and managing it. And then, for that matter, 90% of web forms actually fail to convert. And so really what you need is to have a system where they're getting followed up with quickly, because this is the reason that they don't convert is that they're not getting followed up within that first 15 minutes. And after about 15 minutes, they go cold, right? So the average customer really has to be followed up with 5 to 7 times before booking. And then today's consumer, again, prefers to interact via text message or versus a phone call or an email. So the solution then is to really put marketing automation in place to follow up with those web forms within the first 2 minutes of submission. And we want that going out over email and text message, because text message just gets opened so much better. And we all text, right? we all use our phones primarily to text message back and forth. And that is the best way in our experience to really get things to work there properly. So, and then we want to automate the follow-ups so that every prospect is touched 5+ times and able to engage, again, via 2-way text messaging. This is a demo of our actual CRM, and you can kind of look at some of the workflows here, right, how this works. But a customer lead comes up, and it will immediately do a call connect out to that particular person, or we can do a voicemail drop. It's sending a text message. We're sending out an email. We can send them right to our calendar, where they can book a call directly with one of our technicians, and then take them over to a confirmation page. And so having that automation in place and workflows to make sure that our leads aren't hitting the floor has become absolutely crucial. And then lastly, at the bottom of this accelerated growth model is just optimizing results. Whoops, that's not where I meant to go. So we want to be looking, first of all, at our total spend, right? And that's really what this marketing budget planner is for. It's a tool for you to be able to go, okay, here's our budget. And in our experience, if we're looking at the percentage of sales or the projected revenue that we want to achieve, if we're using only about 5% of our total revenue in marketing and advertising, that's where we're going to stay static. If we're looking for moderate growth, typically about 6 to 15% is a good number to use there. So if we're not trying to necessarily knock it out of the park and we're not ready to ramp up, 4 or 5 new trucks this year, maybe 10-12% in terms of our overall revenue is what we want to be putting back into marketing. But if we're really trying to knock it out of the park and really, throw that wind behind ourselves, 15+% of revenue is a really, really good marketing budget to do that. And as you play around with this spreadsheet, when you're offline, or maybe you're doing that right now, try putting in those different percentages and taking a look at that, right? And so the more money that you put into marketing and advertising, the more lead flow you're going to get, the more conversions you're going to get, the more jobs you're going to do, and the more you're going to be able to get, in a much quicker way toward your goals. So understanding our average cost per lead then is really important. And if you're not tracking something, using something like this to keep an idea of your lead flow, you really ought to consider it. So what we see pretty typically with plumbing, on the PPC end, $65 a lead. HVAC is closer to 125, electrical is 55. These are still pretty true here, I would say, with LSA. Sometimes we'll see leads more in the $35 range. Repeat and referral. When we talk about lead generation, right, and mining our own database, how often do you ask for referrals from your existing customers? Because those are cheap, and you can even incentivize those people. Hey, if you refer a new customer to us, we'll send you a Starbucks card, right? Or something along those lines. But what we want to be doing is taking all of our lead prices and then coming up with a blended average, and then comparing that, of course, against our average ticket, right? And maybe these hold true for your for you and your markets, maybe they don't, but that's what we've seen, pretty typical for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. And again, coming back to this, we've done, this is just another example of a client here, but 1,100 leads, total investment, was about $11,990, so about $10.85 cost per lead. And we see that happen quite a bit more when we have established ads campaigns that we've been running a while, because the short of it is that Google wants to keep you spending your money. That's where they make really all of it. And then the last thing that we want to look at in optimizing results is the actual return on investment. Okay, so if we look at it this way, same scenario here. We're assuming that about 85% of those are going to actually convert into a potential job, right? And then our CSRs are converting those 900, or excuse me, qualified leads, and then our customer service reps are converting that at about 85%, or 808 booked leads. And then we send that technician out, right? That's not always going to necessarily turn into a job. We might only get our trip fee or trip charge out of that, but typically we're seeing about 75% technician conversion. So that's infield closed leads of 606. If our average job value is 450, then our projected revenue $272,861. And when we look at it this way, if we're putting $29.90 into organic SEO, an additional $9,000 into paid search for that total of $11,990, then divide that, of course, by 272, then we're looking at for every dollar that we spend in advertising, we're getting $22 back. And no doubt a good amount of this, 65% of that's going to be from organic search, which is why we're so huge on that, and where the real return on investment starts to come in. But it all matters. And the point is that if I offer you a deal and I say, hey, for every dollar you give me, I'll give you $22 back, is that a good deal or a bad deal? If it was only $10, is that a good deal or a bad deal? Well, that's the point of it, right? Is that when we know our numbers and we know what our return on investment is, then it becomes very, very easy to make decisions. And I stop worrying about, oh my gosh, to get a click to my website is $40. What really matters is, based on everything that I'm putting into it, what is my actual, return on investment rate? And then I really, really like this quote. It says, half my advertising spend is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. And maybe that's something that you can resonate with in your business. But here at Job Calls, at least, we want to do a good job of helping our clients really understand what the total return on investment is for their business. And so this is really what that advanced reporting really looks at. You can see here we've got, CallRail, Poton, Google LSA, all of our organics coming into this. And this is really the type of stuff that it helps our clients be able to make educated decisions about their marketing. What's working, what isn't, what's our highest rate of return, and then all things being equal, we want to try to progressively put more money into the things that are generating larger returns for our company. So we're looking at match rates, booking rates, revenue potential, customer types, business units, advertising channels. And that's really what's included, in those ROI insight reports. So moving on from here, we're kind of nearing the end of this. But as far as our takeaways goes, what area do you really need to focus on most? And what is your lowest hanging fruit? And, we talk a lot about organic SEO, right? And the reality is that is it a huge driver for business for heating and plumbing companies? Absolutely. Is it fast? Not at all. But let's say that I'm not really, we're doing heating and air conditioning, and I didn't really run my winter tune-up, this time of year, right? Well, that's something that, frankly, just looking at your existing customer database, if you've got, a few hundred or a few thousand people in there, that is an absolute untapped opportunity to generate sales from your existing customers to keep them coming back. And in our experience, that's oftentimes the low-hanging fruit, right? Can we tap our existing list and maybe turn something there? Maybe it's really, hey, Google Ads campaigns are great because we can get them up and really running profitably and performing pretty well in about 6 weeks, right? Google goes through this machine learning process, but in the grand scheme of things, 6 weeks to start generating leads, and we generate leads in between then, but to really get a campaign optimized in and performing well, 6 weeks is not that much in the grand scheme of things. Whereas SEO, practically speaking, if we're starting kind of from ground zero and we haven't been putting much energy or effort into that, it used to be about 90 days we could see results there. Now you can just plan on 6 months, right? Before that call volume starts to really get consistent and reliable, and then it's going to continue to grow from there. So it's a much longer ramp up period. And one of the things that I always really ask my clients is, what are you doing now? And let's look for those low hanging fruit opportunities. So I'd say, next, go ahead and maybe write down some of those ideas in that workbook. So third thing here is we want to plan our focus. And this is something that we really like to do here with all of our clients. And in that marketing planning work, not the worksheet, but the actual spreadsheet here, if you go down across the tabs on the bottom, you'll see this, and just a sample here for HVAC, for plumbing, and for electrical, right? But one thing we want to do here is say in January, for an HVAC contractor, we might say, hey, new year, new home, new heating and air conditioning. We send this out over email. We make some posts over social. We probably take those posts and boost them out onto Facebook, right? Because it never hurts. And then on our SEO side, we want to be doing an emphasis on heating repair and replacement and, display. In fact, here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up here really quick so you can see what's available to you. But we've actually templated out a marketing calendar for heating and air conditioning for the next 12 months. And if all you wanted to do was take this, swipe it, and start, running these campaigns out via email, social, SEO, and display, great. You're halfway to the finish line already. We've done the same thing here for plumbing, bathroom, kitchen remodels, especially in January. And believe me, I know this as somebody who runs a general contracting business, and we do a lot of remodels. Bathrooms and kitchen remodels are huge, right? And if you're doing plumbing, you're the crux of a lot of that, right? Or maybe you're teaming up with another GC to do countertops, cabinets, that sort of thing, but you're doing all the plumbing, and that's especially true in those bathroom remodels. Not saying that this is what you have to do, but these are just great options. And most importantly, again, those who fail to plan to fail. And how much further down the line would you be if you were taking this and really planning out in advance how you're going to market to the outside world and to your existing customer base? Because these email campaigns, right, where do you think they're going to? We're not we're not going out and buying lists of consumers and cold emailing them. These are our customers, right? Social is going out to people that we don't know, but it's also going out to our customers, and SEO is going out to people that we want to know. We've got that in here for electrical as well. And then we also have some special offers in here. This one, this is kind of a variety of HVAC and plumbing. But here's some examples of different things that you can do to really get people to cross that line. Here's some additional special offers, different things along those lines. Plumbing, this one is for air conditioning. And then lastly, this is for electrical. So like electrical vehicle charging, indoor and outdoor lighting, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and jump back over here then. And then moving on, and my question really simply is that, what would it mean to you to have a plan, right? If you had 12 months worth of content pre-planned out, if you knew exactly what your strategy was, how you were going to align that marketing mix over organic and paid search, and how we're going to market to our own database, what could that really mean for you? So we're nearing the end of all of this. And if you'd like help doing this, then just go ahead and post "Let's Talk" in the comments. We'll end up following up with with everybody here that signed up for the webinar and participated. But if you're like a lot of our clients, you want to know this stuff, and you want to be on that edge and understand the best tactics to generate leads, how to convert those, and all that kind of fun stuff. But if you're like most of our clients, you really want somebody who can do this for you. And so I'm going to encourage you now to go down here to jobcalls.com/book-a-call. And that's going to actually give you access to my calendar. You can go ahead and book an hour-long strategy session with me. And really what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll do an analysis of your online visibility. We'll create a custom keyword list of your most important search terms. We'll put together a ranking report showing you where you rank currently, because a lot of times what we see is that, people are like, oh, I don't want to invest in organic SEO because I hear it takes forever. And, all these people have had bad experiences. But when we go look at a ranking report, we can see there that, we can basically see where you are, right? And so oftentimes what we know is that for you to be showing up in those maps positions, you really need to be positions 1 through 3. Well, you might be sitting in the maps currently at 5 or 6 or 7. And, in relatively uncompetitive markets, I mean, unless you're, in Dallas, Texas, or New York City, whatever else. I mean, I hate to tell you if you're right here in Utah, but, Salt Lake City is actually not that competitive of a market, although it may seem that way, especially if you're trying to get most of your lead flow from LSA. But oftentimes we can come in and look at it and then strategically say, okay, you're only a few positions away from these high volume keywords that people are typing in every single month into Google. Let's put our energy and emphasis into getting that on-page SEO done. Let's send some links to that page. Let's get your review flow coming up a little bit here. And really we do that. We'll do an analysis of your online directory listings and consistency, analysis of online reviews and reputation, analysis of social presence, analysis of website conversion effectiveness. And that's just again, what we'll get out of this. And really my goal here, I'm not we don't do high pressure sales. we want people to to come to us because they feel like we're a good fit. And really this is just about determining, are we potentially a good fit? So this is really just our, again, accelerated growth roadmap. And again, we want to be driving leads, organic, paid, and through our database, maximizing conversions through our website, reputation automation. And then lastly, looking at how we optimize that result for our total spend, average cost per lead, return on investment. So we've got some fun things pulled up here. Ginger says, I'll be working on updating my website, looking at texting options for our website. Hey, it's been absolutely my pleasure, Ginger, and hope to have a conversation with you here, in the not too distant future. Um, and this is really what our digital dominance method kind of looks like. Again, SEO organic is our base. Local services ads. I mean, if you're not doing this, do it. just get on it. It's stupid simple. It's pay per call. It's taken, what they've done is taken Google Ads and made it just stupid easy for plumbing and heating contractors and a lot of different other contractors as well. Retargeting, right, is so cheap and so easy. We just put a Facebook pixel on the website, and that way everybody who comes there is going to get retargeted all over Instagram and all over Facebook and all over social media, online directories, pay-per-click. Active social media can going to continue to brand you and get you out there. And then marketing automation. And we have, again, a really, really well put together system that does this just beautifully. And rather than you having to turn around and create all of that stuff on your own, those campaigns are already built out. We've been doing it for plumbing and heating contractors for a long time, and there's no reason to really reinvent the wheel. And then repeat referral, and this is again tapping into our lists, asking customers for referrals, maybe even providing an incentive to do that. So lastly, then on here, what I'd like you to do is just take a minute and write down your action items. Okay, what are the top things? 3 things. Let's just keep it simple here that you can take from this and go out and start to really implement on your own here, so that you're kicking off 2024 in a great way. Again, if you'd like to book a call with us and learn more about that accelerated growth model, we'd be happy to do that. And then lastly, I'll just wrap up here and you just kind of talk about what we've covered, but setting clear goals and targets for the year. Again, realigning KPIs, right? Like, what are we tracking, and are we tracking that to achieve outcomes? We've gone and mapped out a little bit of a plan for accomplishment, giving you some tools to do that take into account your budgets, channels, important trends. And really, my goal here with this is just to set you up for massive success in 2020. But that is our phone number, and if you'd like to book a call with me, you can do that here at jobcalls.com/book a call. And I'm going to go ahead and stop recording on this.